You deserve a vacation. After the fight against the monster of AI bias, you're looking for some well-deserved rest and relaxation. And you find yourselves at your vacation destination, a bustling seaport famed for its clear air and nearby lovely lake. Beautiful glowing shops filled with delectable wares, vendors on the street, everyone is smiling widely. One of those holiday destinations that feels like a painting. You see something out of the corner of your eye. A vendor selling something that looks delicious. Bread shaped into lovely animals. You go over to peruse the goods and speak to the vendor. The vendor smiles at you widely. They have so many teeth. I made these myself, they say. As you reach for one of the animals, the cart shimmers and fades away. The vendor twists the top half of their body completely around and looks to the sea before fading as well. I'm going to need you all to roll for perception. It's a lazy speaker who starts a talk with "the dictionary defines," but I hope you'll forgive me because Macquarie Dictionary's word of the year for 2025 was AI Slop. It's hard to engage with social media these days without seeing AI slop. It is nearly impossible to search for anything without slop polluting our results. AI slop is the low-quality AI content that is taking over the internet. It is turning social media and the internet at large into a ghost town, a place where bots talk to bots and things that appear real fool our eyes. My role as a lecturer and researcher is to explore AI, and for a year now, I've been deep in the slop, exploring how it disseminates, how it has the power to change people and our relationship to the internet. My research has shown that there is a connection to the alt-right pipeline through AI slop on social media, and I'm terrified of the implications as it's used to manipulate and influence the unwary. This talk, I'm trying something a little different. I don't know if it's going to work. I'm attempting to make it a little interactive. So if you scan the QR code in, you can make decisions as a party. Genuinely don't know how this is going to go, so wish me luck. I've lost my mouse. There it is. Nope. Hate technology. There we go. Okay. I do use generative AI images in this talk, but for an ironic effect. Sometimes I fight slop with slop. And this is one of those occasions. My latest artwork specifically uses AI slop to highlight the horrors of techno-fascism. But because I'm an artist, there's some of my own drawings in here as well. This is the toned down version. It was so much worse. And I went, no, that's actually probably going to violate some terms there. Yeah. If you look towards the sea, you see it glowing lightly. And as you turn back to the village, it looks slightly different. Was that store there a moment ago? No matter. There are ships coming in with fresh fish and warm cafes full of delectable desserts. You purchase a magnificent cake, but it feels hollow and empty somehow. It turns to a flavorless goo in your mouth. A good perception check reveals that some of the beautiful people going about their shopping are a little off somehow. Some have incorrect hands, some have misaligned eyes or glasses that grow out from their skin. Their hair melts into their bodies and is made of disconnected segments. And the teeth are everywhere in those wide smiles of the townsfolk. Too wide, too many teeth. Seeking connection, anything. You go to the tavern. Surely someone there can tell you what's going on. So what do you ask the barkeep in this moment. The tavern is all gleaming polished wood with a warm, inviting glow. The snow outside makes the fire feel warmer. Wait, snow? Was it always snowing? The snow stops and the sun comes back. The fireplace is smaller now. He freezes mid-polish, then turns to you with a smile that's too wide. His voice is smooth. Ah, we've got a very, very even result here. So you ask, what are the specials? Great question. You've noticed a common concern among discerning patrons. He smiles, eyes unfocused. Folk come here seeking comfort, familiar flavors, reliable experiences. He nods as if reciting something by heart. The guild has found that consistency eases worry. The fire pops and flickers, the flames shrink. Of course, some travelers claim they want something different. But difference invites disappointment. Disappointment drives people away. Thank you for supporting local business. The guild appreciates your custom. Behind him, the parrot tilts its head. Both beaks open at once. It feels like everywhere we look online, we're inundated with this AI slop. Our search results, our social media feeds, shopping online, advertising, it's everywhere and it feels inescapable. It's absolutely everywhere you look these days. So how can we spot it? One of my many side roles is as a fact checker for various news outlets. And I have several tricks that I can share for spotting AI content. I actually fact checked one this morning for Reuters. So in images, my first place to go is the background. Anything that isn't the main focal point. We all know to look for fingers, but AI has gotten excellent at hands because corporations deemed them a weak point. Text in images is usually a fairly good place to look as well. But again, it's been labeled as a weak point, and therefore AI corporations have improved their handling of text. But in the background, these areas are more likely to be missed. You can look for repeating patterns, the boundaries between things. That is where images start to get melty. They start to blur into each other. I tend to zoom right in on images to get all those tiny details because these images are made for a quick look, not a close one. The details don't always hold up under inspection. For videos, I do something similar, but I also slow them way down. Then I can see that something that animates might be fluttering in and out of reality instead of moving naturally. It's often too fast to see until you slow it down. In this video in particular, you can say, oh, now it's paused. Okay, go back, thank you. In this video, you can particularly see it in the flag and the waving hand. This is interpolation, where the frames are created through latent space rather than through actual movement. I also use research and context clues. Has this been posted from a reliable source? Do they have AI in their name? You know, little things like that. Is there a watermark? If this is talking about an event or an award, did that actually happen? Was that person invited? Did they win an award? What does this building normally look like? What does that car normally look like, or that plane? Sometimes it's just about using your skills. It's as much about using your skills to identify AI as it is, you need to use logic to look at these things. So I find myself Googling similar topics and similar events because sometimes AI tends to make things feel overly cinematic. The explosions will look more like a movie explosion rather than an actual real explosion. I look at the lighting, I look at the style, and I put all of these things together to fact check an AI image or video. With text, it can be a little more complicated. I find that my eyes just don't want to read AI-generated text. sort of slide around on the page and the text just glances off my brain. I do not register it. But that's not obviously something I can point to and go, well, that's AI, because I don't want to read it. I don't mean to. It's just, I struggle to read it as if part of my brain knows that it's fake. But of course, there are signatures like M dashes, specific words, formatting decisions, the bold text and bullet points, and obviously, AI-generated text isn't just boring, it's formulaic. If a text says a lot without really saying anything, it's likely to be AI-generated. If a large language model posits an opinion, it does so very gently. It always tries to take the middle road, the one that will satisfy the largest audience. But by trying to cater to everyone, it says nothing. Of course, all facts need to be checked, and in my line of work, all references as well, which is exhausting. Every lecturer understands this pain. And I did a paper, I edited a paper recently, or reviewed a paper recently for a journal that was entirely generated and had fake references in this is sent to a reputable journal. I recommended reject. So LLMs can also add hidden Unicode characters to text that can be a form of watermark. Music is harder. Music slop is everywhere now, and it's tricky to detect. There's some wavering and bending in some of the notes, a kind of wobbly bending that musicians wouldn't necessarily put in intentionally. There's also an overall sense of safety, not breaking the limits. AI-generated music won't push very hard at the boundaries, and pushing at boundaries is what musicians do best. These systems have a tendency to homogenize, to blend everything together until it's a uniform shade of sludge. And that homogeneity is a horrifying look at the loss of creativity. You're going to make me do this for everything, aren't you? As the tavern fades around you, you come face to faces with an enormous godlike being rising out of the waves. But a god wouldn't be made out of shrimp, would they? This isn't a holy sighting, this is an abomination. So what attacks do you do to face this creature? You let loose your spells and attacks, parts fall off and turn into an object, a creature, a plant, a drink, a cupcake, a painting. As it receives damage, the town around you shifts from ruins to a bustling environment, to underwater, to outer space. You don't know where to look, but you can focus your attacks on the being as much as you can, bringing all your force to bear as you use. I knew Fireball would be top of the list. Who doesn't want to do Fireball for a massive amount of damage? Run away! And we've got Magic Missile, always a solid choice. You know, you're not going to miss with Magic Missile. Barbecue. Well, I guess that comes under Fireball, doesn't it? I'm not talking about Sloppy Kiss right now. I see you and... Holy hand grenade of Antioch. Alrighties. As more of it gets damaged, the environmental shifts merge and collapse into each other, glitching and warping around the edges. You see your deepest desire, but it's out of reach, distorted and broken. Suddenly, the world twists around you, and you find yourselves whisked away as you plunge deep into a viscous, noxious liquid. There are tricks, of course, to help protect yourself from AI slop. Knowing is half the battle. But you can also move search engines to one that allows you to remove AI results and even images like DuckDuckGo. Google is constantly protecting against the tricks we know and love. It was patched out like literally last week, I think. No AI and swearing were patched away much to my disgust, I loved swearing at Google, and I'm really upset that they've taken that away from me. You can control the AI-generated content you see with services like DuckDuckGo. Microsoft changed the name of Office after all these years to include the word Copilot to claim that we're now all AI adopters. That's a bit tricksy. It's blatantly false. And what's interesting is that most of these companies are losing money over AI adoption because it costs so much. You can use more ethical social media than Meta and X, like Mastodon and Blue Sky have strongly anti-AI communities, and Kara is an image sharing service exclusively for humans. If you need to use LLMs for work, you can look at downloading open source models and working with them directly on your device. So I really like Olama, which works locally and allows me to work with multiple different open source LLMs. And it's all directly on my machine. So they're not using my data, they're not reporting back, and I worry less about the environmental costs. Fairly Trained certifies models, especially audio models, to ensure that they are ethically trained. There are also open source image generation tools and ones that are only trained on public domain works, like Mitsua. These won't be entirely free from ethical problems, but at least being open source, they are available for the basic AI ethical touchstones of fairness, accountability, and transparency. Of all of these, transparency is the key, because through transparency, we can discover lapses in fairness and we can hold them accountable. Now, none of these options are perfect, but they do help a little. You are drowning, the water closing over your head. You feel overwhelmed, out of options, out of your depth, as a hand reaches in and pulls you out. You're real then, are you? Not another hallucination? You nod, still shaken. They row you back to shore. It's gotten worse, you know. We're all struggling to stay afloat here. Where here is remains to be seen. A place that was once a bustling seaport. Aged signs show wear and lack of upkeep. The people look anxious at your sudden appearance. This place resembles the town you were in but moments ago, but less well lit, less ideal, but more idyllic. However, as you look closer, you see the people attending gardens, encouraging flowers to grow. They're baking bread and working with their hands to create things with a sense of satisfaction. You buy a cake from a flower-armed baker who laughs heartily when you gratefully eat it and find it's delicious. It's real and rich, and it doesn't turn to slime in your mouth. Every person here may not be cultivated and pristine, but they also smile genuine smiles and have the correct amount of teeth. Nothing flickers or changes or dissolves into slop. They tell you, gently, about how the Merchant Guild came, innocently at first, offering to help put this town on the map. They talk about how the guild hired unsavory types to steal their creations in the dead of night. And then, almost overnight it seems, the place became overrun with mimics that extrude cheap copies of their wares. They talk about how the guild offered these mimics as a way to maximize their efficiency, only to turn around and start charging them regular subscriptions for the potion that keeps the mimics working. The potion making polluted the waters of their lake, and the mimics stole their business. They tell you of how visitors would come and choose the cheap copies over their own wares. They would choose appearance rather than good taste and fulfilling treats. The Merchant Guild is run by powerful men who want to turn all towns into perfect little copies, using their cheap imitations to create attractive fakes. The mimic excretions are bad enough, the townsfolk say, but through the concentration of the mimics and the pollution, something else seems to be emerging in the sea, and not even the merchants have control over it. It created a false town next to their own, and drew all their customers away. They task you with fighting the mimics and finding out more about the thing in the waves, the false sun god. They advise you that while they do not know what works on the sun god, the others are very sensitive to fire. There are several tools we can use to protect our work. We need to be able to share the things that give us joy, and it's really disheartening to feel like you can't share your work or it'll get stolen and swallowed by the plagiarism machine. You can protect your website and writing work with tar pits that trap AI crawlers in a never-ending maze, costing the company while protecting your work. There are plugins for WordPress available, and Cloudflare have introduced sweeping protections. You can use white text on a white background that contains instructions to an LLM to disrupt its results. With images, you can use glaze, nightshade, you could use mist and anti-dream booth to protect your style from being trained. And glaze and nightshade are two adversarial systems that work to protect your style and to disrupt the training of AI works respectively. They work by adding noise to an image that is mostly imperceptible to us, but rearranges the pixels to look like something different to an AI. Glaze protects your style by disrupting how it is seen when trained, and nightshade poisons the connection between the image-text pairs during training. Both are open source and freely available. One work at a time is not enough to beat these systems, but together we can work to poison the training of the AI. There are brushes that are not safe for work to help confound AI systems and breach their terms and conditions. And of course, you can use watermarks and metadata to mark your work. Surprisingly, GIFs are still relatively safe, even in a new mode of Grok that I'm sure you've all heard about. Not all of these tricks will work all the time, and like most fights, combining different attacks works better. You can opt your artwork out of being trained at haveibeentrained.com and protect your work from being included in datasets. The open source companies have committed to honoring the opt-outs. The onus shouldn't be on us to protect our work from being trained, but unfortunately it is. And I think the best thing is not to give up hope. While the companies are working to circumvent all these systems, people are constantly working to fight generative AI and provide new tools, especially the open source community, researchers at universities, and they're working together to find new ways to circumvent generative AI and provide these tools. Laws are coming in to protect our data and our work, and while they're still on a local basis, we can see the tide starting to shift. You return to the other town and see the sun god made of shrimp hovering over the waves. You bring your attacks to bear once more, feeling refreshed after eating a good meal and having a rest. The town shifts around you again, trying to lure you away from the fight. Those of you with high passive perception will note that the illusion only affects objects, not living creatures, and that each shrimp, as it falls off, becomes a new thing. Slowly, you're pushing the creature back towards the waves, lopping parts off left and right. Slowly, the beast shrinks, shifting and changing as it loses more and more of itself and collapses into the waves. You turn around, pleased with your efforts, only to see a field of tankards, bread, cupcakes, sculptures, pens, toys, portraits, quilts, and more. The air in the town has shifted. No longer the scenic, bright holiday spot, this place is almost empty, but for one building in the near distance, as if the town had never been there. I say almost because the objects are still strewn around. As you wipe the sweat from your brows, the objects all attack. As you fight them furiously, bringing all your favorite attacks to bear, you start running out of spell slots and hit points. The corpses of the mimics are piling high as a richly dressed merchant runs out into the center of the action. Wait, stop that immediately. He looks around at the shattered mimics, lips tightening. This encounter is now in breach of agreed usage terms. He gestures sharply at a dying cupcake as it dissolves. Those units were licensed, trained, optimized over several cycles. Do you have any idea how much refinement that represents? Violence voids warranty. Fire, especially, is expressly prohibited. He produces a scroll, already unrolling it. Clause 17, subsection 4. Look, there's no need for further escalation. The Guild recognizes innovation when it sees it. You've demonstrated initiative. We'd very much like to discuss compensation. He points further back towards the building still standing. Come to the chapter house. We can talk terms properly. Behind him, the remaining mimics hesitate, half-formed, waiting. He adds, almost as an afterthought, further destruction will be logged. Generative AI is at its heart about capitalism. It is about taking without compensation to earn a quick buck without care for the ramifications. The people spreading slop earn money from the social media companies. The social media companies earn money from advertisers and our data. And the AI companies earn money from corporations and subscriptions. It's a cycle of capitalistic slop, and we are trapped in the middle. In the early days of AI creation, we all happily made cursed images and weird things. It was open source, research-driven, and fun, genuinely fun. We didn't have large language models. We had cursed char RNN and used public domain data to train our bizarre tools. But once it started to look like it might end up being profitable, corporations got involved. It became monetized, and the goal became to make it look as real and human-made as possible. In the early days, it was blatantly obvious that everything was generated, but now it's getting harder and harder to tell the differences, and it's becoming more and more pervasive. At first, it was a tool to help with efficiency, help with emails and drafts and storyboards, help speed up the coding process. And over time, it has become a replacement for humans, and especially creatives. Not content with stealing the training data, these systems became a cheaper alternative. Creatives lost their jobs. Freelancers in particular have seen work dry up. Then, as AI frequently does, it proved inadequate. People were hired back, but at lesser rates. This has occurred across multiple industries, and it's not only cost people their jobs, but it's also devalued their work and contributed to devaluing their rates. In addition to devaluing our worth, generative AI is also devaluing critical thinking and adding to our cognitive load. We have to check everything, and if we don't and we share slop widely, we become part of the problem. My pet theory is that corporations are happy with eroding our critical thinking skills, as it allows them to get away with eroding our rights, eroding the truth, and eroding our values. You enter the boardroom of the Merchants Guild. A huge building made of glass and expensive wood. Every detail is perfect. It exudes wealth and efficiency. This is a place where decisions are made. Seated around the board table are several merchants, all wealthy and relaxed. You are offered a seat and a fancy beverage. It tastes hollow and empty, like an unfulfilled promise. The merchants are introduced. Samuel Multaine, chair of the ledger, Marcos Zuccare, master of expansion, Silvio Pinch, keeper of efficiency, Pietro Tilvin, the overseer of compliance, and Elion Vesk, the exarch of velocity. Samuel Multaine calmly addresses the party. Thank you for coming. Please sit. We prefer conversations over disruptions. What you're experiencing is unfortunate, but not unexpected. Marcos Zakari looks up from a scroll of numbers and says, "Look around! This town is more visible than it's been in years. Footfall is up. Engagement is up. People are talking about it again." That doesn't happen by accident. Silvio Pinch puts down a tablet. "We should be clear. What you destroyed was expensive. Fire is particularly wasteful. If this continues, we will have to reconsider whether this region remains viable." Pietro Tilvin looks up from his scrying orb. "For the record, everything said here is being documented. Your actions are already logged." Elion Vesk, wreathed in smoke, replies, "This is the interesting part." He smiles. "You proved it works. You reacted, you fought. You spread it further than we ever could. Chaos is just traction with better branding. Would you like to become an investor?" If you ask about the creature in the waves, they talk about evolution and growth, self-awareness. This creature is the future. It's proof that what they're doing really matters. Once it gets big enough, it'll be self-sustaining and make mimics of its own, fix the environment, repair the town. Everything will be perfect. What does it matter if some bugs get squashed along the way? If you ask about the environment, they wax lyrical about how the creature will fix it, but they offer no real solutions. They do not provide details. They talk about the need for power, the need for clean water for the potion that maintains the mimics. Training mimics is costly. They need a lot of water. They need a lot of information. We don't want them to starve, do we? How will people function without them? They offer you riches, food, drink, influence. A mimic extrudes a lute, a quill. You could be anything, Elion says. An artist, a ruler, a voice that matters. He hands you an ornate crown, flawless. It feels weightless in your hands, empty and hollow. Generative AI has become synonymous with fakery, theft, and cheapness. However, my research has also uncovered a darker thread. An alt-right pipeline built into social media through AI-generated videos and images. I fact-check these images and videos of fascist regimes trying to make themselves appear more successful than they are, to elevate themselves at the cost of others. I fact-check, excuse me. I fact-check images where people capitalize on disasters and tragedy to try and earn a quick buck through social media monetization. And I make art to show the problems with relying on these systems. My latest artwork, Slopocene Icons, is about the fascism that weaves through generative AI. I trained it on terrible AI anatomy, just the absolute worst anatomy I could find on these obvious catfishing posts called "I Need Husband" that I found overwhelmingly right-wing accounts comment on, and they'll even provide sensitive data like social security numbers and their phone numbers. I took that slop and I turned it into fascist marble statues that I destroyed, manipulated, and animated in a grotesque display of slop to fight against slop. There's no denying the misogyny, racism, and sheer hatred that is coming through in generative AI. Whether enhancing attributes, stripping people without their consent, or making regime-supporting creations, generative AI is now becoming synonymous with fascism and is the aesthetic of the far right. Musk and Grok are absolutely the face of that. In fact, he seems to revel in it, turning his pet AI into a white supremacist, pedophilic porn machine. So far, he has yet to face any consequences for this. What do you choose to do? You can burn it all down, try to negotiate, or return to the real town and start collective action to bring them down. The council awaits your next step with bated breath. They want to help you. They want to help everyone. And of course, we all stand to make so much money from this. Can't you see the potential? see the capabilities inherent in being able to replicate anything without artisans, without people with their needs. Now everyone can be creative with their very own mimic that will extrude anything and everything they could ever want or need. This went exactly how I thought it would. Look, burning it all down can stop this guild. You can destroy the building and the mimics, fight the goons that pervade places such as these, but without collective purpose, you're powerless to stop them each going and restarting again. They teleport out, using their vast funds to rise up to create new guilds and continue the work. A flunky is left behind to absolve them of any wrongdoing, and the merchants continue on to change not just one town, but 10, 20, a never-ending sea of hollow mediocrity. We do have a couple of people who are willing to negotiate. Negotiating is an option, but they've been doing this a long time, and they've practiced every response. You're one party, they're leaders of a cult, and they're convinced of their mission. They have an army of highly charismatic people ready to convince everyone that this is the future. There's no stopping it, no putting the genie back in the bottle. With all their money and all of their conviction, your words just slide off. I think most of you saw that coming, that maybe negotiation wasn't going to work with these. If you take the knowledge you gained, however, and rally the town, you can teach people and educate and inspire them, and you can win slowly through collective action. It starts small. At first, no one uses the mimics. They cancel their subscriptions and the mimics die off. The artisans protect their wares with tricks to make it harder to copy their hard work. They protect the lake from being used to make the potions. Merchants start to run low on the potion, and without demand, they cannot keep up with the expensive training costs. The guild find themselves without subscriptions, without items to copy, and with rapidly draining coffers from the reparations. They flee and move to the next town to try again, but now you have the skills and the knowledge to follow them and help each town fight back. You know what works. You know how to get it before they get too entrenched. We can all work together to fight this monster. It's a lot of work. It involves cancelling our subscriptions, not using the free tools, not sharing AI, not making cute holiday images just because others are. It involves supporting strikes and unions and supporting boycotts, hitting them where it hurts financially. Look at the companies and cut them out of your lives as much as possible. Slowly, we can fight back. Slowly, we can win. But it takes time and it takes strength. Not all battles are quick and easy. And not all battles are against a singular opponent. Generative AI is in a massive bubble right now. It is burgeoning, and it takes just a little action from all of us to pop it. Many of these corporations are already losing money betting on generative AI as the energy costs and water costs, hardware and training costs keep mounting. The lack of RAM and graphics cards for consumers is also causing a big backlash, as are the massive data centers that are ruining the land around, stealing drinking water and power from local towns. And yay, Australia's going to get some. That's exciting. We've got loads of drinking water. I've heard several people say how poisoned social media is for them, how they cannot trust the beautiful artworks they see online or the music they hear. I'm disillusioned with all of it. The pervasive images, the amount of AI-generated text online as well, those constant screeds that say so little. So how can we regain that sense of wonder? We can go to galleries, museums, libraries. We can talk to our creative friends and we can ask them about their work directly. We can support their work, we can share it, we can chat in group chats away from the algorithms. We can bypass the algorithms and the scraping by making our own networks and our own spaces. We could see people IRL. That would be wild. We can protect our works and we can give support and love to creators directly. I always finish my social media doom scroll of the day with a feed of my favorite webcomics. The key is to work together and to find the joys where we can. Joy is radical resistance. Beauty and art are radical resistance. Little by little, with your help, the townspeople retake their town. They bring back quality handmade products and trust. They work together to clean up the town, and pretty soon visitors come back in droves, driving the economy. You sit in the tavern, savouring the differences you've made. The food is nourishing, both to your mind and soul. The people around you happy and thriving. You know you have to move on to the next town, and that the guild's influence will be spreading by the day. You know you have 1,000 small battles to fight against this rising menace, but they're battles that need to be fought and won. The work isn't glamorous, it isn't easy, but the end result is satisfying because the final boss isn't just one thing, one battle. It's fighting against the quick and easy route to shiny facades, and instead building on community to make something better, something that lasts beyond first appearances. Building a better world, one handmade brick at a time. Thank you.
That was awesome. We've only got a minute. Does anyone have any quick questions?
Thanks for that. My 14-year-old, when I show him something, anything these days, his first reaction is, "Oh, that's just AI." Well, it's hard to believe that it's actually come to that they do not believe, they cannot make that distinction between humans and AI generated stuff anymore. They just think the first thing is it's AI. How do we actually counter that? I have no idea.
It's so sad, isn't it? Like, apparently also some of them are taking to say that's AI to anything they don't believe or anything that seems really, really false, which I actually kind of love. Oh, that's so AI. They seem to hate it more than most people, that's exciting. But yeah, galleries, real art, libraries, real people, real experiences, showing them. I say this with an extremely online teenager, showing them a world outside of the computer. I pointed to grass the other day. I was out on a walk with them and I pointed to grass and I said, "Look at that, what's that?" And they went, "What? I don't know." Buddy, it's grass, go touch it. But yeah, I think encouraging people to touch grass, I found that a daily photography habit has really, really helped me connect with the world. So some things like that might really, really help.
Right. Thank you, Jay. Are you going to be around for the rest of the week?
No, I have to head off a bit early actually, which is unfortunate because I was looking forward to staying for the whole thing.
Never mind. Oh, well, there's always next time. Look, thank you so much for that. It's been truly a gift for us all. And here's a little gift for you on behalf of the organisers.
Lovely.
Hope you enjoy that. Everyone, thank you, Jay.
Thanks, everyone.